What's up, Fumble fam? I'm Brooke.
And I'm Noelle, and you're listening to Girls Don't Fumble, the #1 sports podcast for NFL Girl Talk.
We sift through all the football news so you don't have to.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back, Fumblers. We are so happy to have you guys here with us. We are doing a little bit of a virtual episode this week. So if the audio or video looks a little different to you guys or sounds different, that is why. But Noelle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. I'm happy that we're already halfway through the week. And It was nice because we had the Monday off. And of course, it was in celebration of Veterans Day. So shout out to all of our veterans out there. It was a day well spent because of Monday Night Football and everything. But I'm doing great. I could have been better if I was here in LA this weekend, though.
Oh my gosh. Well, even those of us in LA missed the biggest event of all. I'm depressed. We fumbled that one, unfortunately.
We did. And for the fumblers that don't know, we had a very special Eagle that was here on the West Coast. And yes, I'm talking about Jason Kelce. He was here. He was showing all of his love from the city of brotherly love, and he brought it all the way to the bars of the West Side. And it seems like he had a little bit of a day of it for himself on Sunday. He was just going from bar to bar, doing a little bit of a bar hop, if you will. And he was just having the time with fans. He was taking photos. He was drinking beers and doing his Eagles chant with fans. It was a great day to be a football fan and an Eagles fan at many of the bars that he was at. From what I've seen online, it seems like he was at about 3. And if you guys are in LA, in Santa Monica, it was at Britannia, which is this like right on the promenade. He was at the garage in Palm/Culver City area. And I think that's where a lot.
So random.
It's so random. And I looked it up. I'm like, wait, this looks kind of fun. Like, I need to go to this sports bar as well. It does seem like an Eagles bar. So I will give you that for all the Eagles fans. If you guys don't know it, who knows? Jason could come back. And I don't know if this is like an old photo or not, but it also seems like he was at Hinano's in Venice, which would be insane because that's the bar that I go to if I'm watching a big game. And yeah, I mean, it just seemed like the fans were having the best time. And of course, he was in town because he was doing some commentating for Monday Night Football game at SoFi Stadium with the Rams versus the Dolphins. And unfortunately, the Rams lost that game, but very excited for Tua and company. And he was here and he showed all of his love. And of course, this is kind of coming fresh off of some of the controversy from a few weeks ago when he, took a phone and just threw it across the floor, of this like heckler, basically. But it was great. It was great to see him. We don't see him often over here on the West Side. And we're just loving to see Jason in his retirement era because it's just looking so good on him. We're here for all of his side quests at this point.
We love it so much. And I do love to see him out having fun, interacting with fans, getting all of the love right now. Because as we talked about on our last episode, the drama of him throwing the phone, of him yelling at the fan, of him using the like little F slur, which was not a great moment, sure, but we fully backed Jason. We took Jason's side. We were like, he had every right to do this. He did have to apologize on Thursday Night Football on that broadcast. And when I was watching, I was like, I don't agree with this. I felt like it was very much like a PR. The league is like, Jason, like it's a good look, or maybe he wanted to do it himself, but I don't know. I was a little bit mad that they made him, or he felt like he had to apologize for that, because I genuinely don't think he was in the wrong at all. So I'm just glad that he was able to come out to LA, make the most of the weekend. Like he's like, I'm not going to fly out on Monday and just like land and do the game. I'm going to go to the bars in Santa Monica. I'm going to see what LA is all about. Like, I wonder if Taylor Swift gave him any recommendations, but then I'm like, I bet Taylor's not at those bars.
She is not at Hinano's, even though that would literally make the world like turn upside down if all of a sudden we saw her at the bars.
Oh
We'd
my
love
God.
it. We'd love to see it.
It was like that night that she was at Barney's Beanery, and I swear it blew up after that, which I'm upset about. The Barney's Beanery in WeHo. It's been around for legitimately 100 years. It did not become a thing with the Gen Zs until after Taylor Swift was spotted there. Now all these celebs are there. Like,
You
I
heard it
don't.
here
She really
first.
had the Yeah, you had heard it here first. She had the opportunity to turn around any of those bars, and maybe now, like that Jason Kelsey's gone to Hanano's and Britannia or wherever the other ones were, the Garage. I do actually think I knew the Garage was an Eagles bar, so that makes a lot of sense. I bet they all had that connection.
But would
But
she be at a Chiefs bar if she were here in LA?
mm, I don't even, what are the Chiefs bars in LA? Like
All of
any
them?
bar, yeah, any bar
All of
without
them.
loyalty is a Chiefs bar at this point because
Yeah.
that is just like the biggest bandwagon fandom. And like I get it, honestly.
Yeah.
But I love it. I remember just like going onto TikTok and I was like, oh, like that's so fun. Like Jason Kelsey's at a bar. And then the next one was like me running through Santa Monica to get a beer from Jason Kelce. I was like, what do you mean Santa Monica?
Yeah.
And if I had been out or if I had seen this like the day that it was happening, I would have been in my car speeding over to the promenade to get a beer from the king himself. But maybe next time.
Yeah, the fans flocked to the internet. This girl was like, Jason Kelce is at the bar across the street from me, and she had photos with him. So people got outside real fast to get their photo op with him. It was so great to see. And even Kylie Kelsey, she took to the internet when people were reposting all these videos of him out at the bars. And she said something along the lines of, you never know where he's going to be next. So guys, be on the
Oh,
lookout. See
she
where
wants
that
us to
next
stay
Monday
on our
night game is.
toes.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously. I feel like I obviously we know how big the Kelseys are, especially Travis now, and like how famous they are. But it really put it in perspective thinking about how big of a deal it would be to know that like Jason Kelce is coming to town. Like if we got a tip, like Jason Kelce is going to be at this bar, or like 4 o'clock, Jason might show up. Like imagining the excitement and the panic and running down the street to just go see him at a bar, like that is a level of
We would be
fame that
running.
running. And I can't think of like that many people I would run down the street to like get served a beer from.
Yeah.
And so it's like obviously we know he's a huge name. The podcast is successful. They have the ties with Taylor. I mean, they're brothers in the NFL. Everyone's loved them for years, anyways. But just picturing the chaos that must have ensued in Santa Monica really just like put things into like extra level perspective for me of just
Hmm.
how famous they are and how big of a deal it was and just how cool it is that he was willing to just like go hang out with fans and have fun all day. And I feel like that's why people love him. Like he's so genuine and such a good time. So
Yeah.
hopefully he's back.
And I'm sure if you're a bar owner, they had some level of secrecy. Who knows? Maybe they didn't even know he was showing up, but I did see him behind a bar at one point, and I wonder if that was pre-planned or if they were just like, Jason Kelsey's here. I'm obviously gonna let him do whatever you
Yeah,
want here.
please. We'll empty the bar. We'll make the
We'll
bar
leave. We'll all
crowded.
leave right now. You can serve every single table if you want to. But if
Yeah.
I were a bar owner, I would totally rat him out. And like, that's just for business.
Pulling out my
Um,
phone.
I know. I'm like, oh no, I told everybody I know that he's going to be there because no. But happy to see it. Happy to see Jason, the Santa Monica bars all thriving because of a day with a very special Eagle. So we love to see it. Jason, come back. Maybe we'll just so happen to be in one of these bars as well. Am I an
We're
Eagles
just
fan all of a sudden?
no, suddenly we are fly Eagles fly. We're all over Santa Monica, wherever Jason will have us. We are there and we are bleeding green for the Eagles. That's like a nice feel good story to like
Definitely.
round off like the Jason Kelsey saga of the phone situation.
Yeah. And while things were all good over here on the West Coast, there was a little bit of some trouble in Chiefs Kingdom.
Hmm. There sure
And
was.
although I'm not talking about on the field, unfortunately, because the Chiefs are still undefeated, it seems like if we go back a few weekends ago, back in October, it sounds like both Patrick and Travis Kelce, they both had some run-ins with the law, not themselves, but people were trying to get into their humble abodes and AKA their mansions.
Yeah.
Um,
Not humble at
we
all.
not humble at all. We're hearing some reports, and it's weird that it's coming out a few weeks after because these incidences happened around October 6th to October 8th, maybe. So definitely a few weeks ago at the time of this recording. But we're now seeing that both Patrick and Travis Kelce had some burglary and forced entry police reports that were filed. And it's very scary for the both of them because we all know that They are very wealthy men in the NFL, and this very much seemed planned for Patrick Mahomes. This was a few days before a Monday night football game against the Saints, you said, right? It was there
Hmm.
against the Saints. So it was a big game, but there were no reports of force entry, but it sounds like it was the security team that that filed the police report. So it very well could have been that Patrick and his entire family, Brittany and their kids, were sleeping at home while someone was trying to break in, and Lord knows what they would do, probably try to steal things. I doubt that they would try to cause any harm on the biggest star in Kansas City. That would be a
You don't
riot.
know. People are crazy. They
But
might.
who knows? Yeah, exactly. But luckily, no blood was shed during this break-in or the attempted break-in. But for Travis Kelce, things were a little bit of a different story. The night of that Monday night football game, um, it sounds like around while the game was happening, Travis Kelce's home was broken into. His back door was broken into completely, and $20,000 was stolen from his house. So someone has their schedules fully pulled up. They know where they live, they have their addresses, and it's a scary time for them. It sounds like the investigations are currently ongoing. We don't know much else aside from that unless you have other reports, but that's all that I'm gathering at the moment. And, our hearts go out to both Travis and Taylor, of course, and all of the Mahomes family because it's scary. Nobody wants to be invaded with their privacy like that.
Hmm.
And it seems like they're a target right now. And as an NFL player, you definitely shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, it's really scary. And I feel like the weird thing is like when we were first seeing this in the news or like all over TikTok, our news page, like it was giving us the impression that this had just happened because the news just broke this week. We're recording on Wednesday. And I feel like this is when we just first started seeing reports. But as you mentioned, this happened early in October. So I don't know if it's just like timing with police reports and when they're allowed to say things, but it sounds like I'm sure they were connected because what are the odds that two of the biggest stars and the richest people on the Chiefs are going to get burglarized 2 days after each other?
Right.
But the one with Patrick Mahomes, a lot of people and people on the internet and just the information we have and no force entry and just I don't know, the sketchiness around it really makes it seem like it was maybe an inside job. I'm not saying it was someone in a security team, but there's multiple gates that you have to get through and multiple codes you need to have access to. And you just need to know, like, obviously, when you have such a big mansion and all the lands and all the security of being someone as famous as Patrick Mahomes, like, it's not like you just have a house on a cul-de-sac. Like there's so many things you have to go through
Yeah.
to be able to have access to his home. And the fact that there's no forced entry, like you mentioned, maybe it was like a security team had stopped them, or it was someone who had access to all that information and was able to get in without forcing entry. So that's terrifying. And then with the Travis Kelce one, they did have to go through, he lives in a gated community and I think has a gate around his whole house. So they had access to that or able to follow someone in there. And then they used force to break into his back door. And I think that they the police report timing was around kickoff. So they knew that he was going to be at the game. They knew Taylor was going to be at the game. And as you mentioned, they stole $20,000 in cash. And it's just like, it's really scary to think that as people that famous, that there are bad people who have that level of access to them and are able to find their houses. And if I'm just trying to think how I would feel if I came home and I saw that like my home was broken into. Like, it's probably like the most disgusting feeling that awful people went through all your stuff. They stole, like, you must be scared they're still in there. Like, I can't imagine a worse, like, ickier, terrified feeling than that. And especially when you are someone like Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce, you know that's not an accident. You know that's not a crime of opportunity. You know that's not like, oh, I left my door unlocked or I left my window open or they must have been driving by. Like, this was something that was very planned. It was when they knew he was out of the house and they knew that
Yeah.
like he'd be at a game. And so I don't know, it's just really scary. I heard that him and Taylor like came home and found it and then like went to a hotel and like obviously didn't want to stay there that night. Like I wouldn't either. Just just awful.
Yeah, I mean, I have had my car broken into, so I can't even imagine my whole ass house and my gate being just completely damaged. That would be shell shocking. Like that would be
Mhm.
scary. I would be like, I think I need to sell this house and move. Like
Yeah.
people know where I live. I'm a target at this point.
Yeah.
I can't be here anymore. And it doesn't help that, we see Travis and Taylor, they're out in New York all the time. So that would
Hmm.
make me feel even more uneasy knowing that maybe I shouldn't be leaving as much because my home can be broken into, or maybe it just makes you reevaluate like, how am I locking up my personal belongings that are very valuable to me? But like, still, yet it's never a good feeling, whether you're famous or not. Like, that's just scary stuff. And, hopefully we don't see more of this because let the players be rich and famous and let them keep their belongings, okay? Just let them
Yeah.
be. Go make your
Stop
own money.
taking, yeah, go
Go
make
start
your
a
own money.
podcast.
Yeah, we're making a lot of money
We're
doing
making so
it.
we're rolling in dough right now as I'm in
Uh,
the garage.
just kidding. We've only spent money. We're in negative. We're in the red on the
We're
podcast.
You guys will be a profitable business one day, I promise.
Yeah, mark our words.
Mark our
But
words.
no, it's so scary, and it's also like they took $20,000. So like maybe he had $20,000 out on the counter. I doubt it. Maybe it was in a safe. So then did they have access to a safe? And it's like,
Yeah.
how many things did they get access to? How many people are involved? Are like, were they happy with that 20K? Did they see other things they wanted to steal? Are they planning to come back? Like, I'm assuming he's like ramping up his security. One
Yeah.
like funny, not funny thought that I had just trying to picture this whole incident, like trying to put myself in their shoes. I was thinking about the timing of this game, and it was the Monday night against the Saints, as you mentioned. And that was the night that Taylor went to the game with all the sparkles on her face and had
Oh
like the
my
full, like, has it
gosh.
like sparkles,
Yeah.
cheeks, nose, cheeks. And I'm just thinking, like, imagine them showing back up to the scene of the crime and Taylor's like full face of glitter, like so stressed. Like, you don't want to get your house broken into. You definitely don't want to get broken into and like talk to the police and deal with all of that when you have a
When you
face
have
full of
face
glitter.
sparkles. Yeah.
Like, talk
Also,
about not scaring away the people who
no.
broke in.
Also, as we're talking about this, I'm like, have you heard of a Ring camera? And I'm sure that they have them, but like,
Hmm.
I feel like the hardware and the updates that you get on them are so good that, you should have a Ring camera and your security team, and they probably do, but I'm just
They
like,
probably
how did
do.
how did they miss that? And that does give a little bit more evidence that that would be crazy if this was an inside job. We sure hope
Hmm.
not, but dang, that would be wild.
Yeah, especially like Travis, I'm sure he increased his security so much. Nobody's with Taylor, and especially if like Taylor's coming home with him after the game, assuming they're going back to his place, they're in Kansas City. So it's like, okay, like the security has to be top notch. The fact that someone was still able to not only break in forcibly, but steal stuff, it's
Yeah,
really scary.
it's so
I mean, we'll
scary.
definitely be following along on that news story and seeing what else they come out with. I am curious to know why there was like an over a month delay in us hearing about this.
Yeah.
Maybe it had to do with like the footage and just like legal stuff and not
Yeah.
wanting to like inspire any other crimes, maybe like while they were still figuring out security stuff.
Yeah. The investigation is ongoing, so we'll provide any updates as they come.
The investigation is ongoing, but the grind does not stop for the Chiefs. They have perhaps one of their biggest games coming up this Sunday against the Bills. So as Noel mentioned, the Chiefs are still undefeated, 9-0, and the Bills are 8-2. So these two teams are currently first and second place in the AFC. And the all the betting odds have the Bills favored to win this. And I'm like, I get it because they've
Crazy.
been looking great. Josh Allen's been looking great. But have you guys been watching? There's some voodoo magic happening with the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are going to win this game. I do think a lot of people are viewing this as like the best chance that a team has had so far to knock the Chiefs off of their like whole undefeated arch. But it's like they have been the underdogs in at least four of their last few games, and they win every single time. We even had an update come in today on Wednesday that Patrick Mahomes has added a new injury to the Wednesday injury report for the Chiefs. So, as you guys may have already seen or been aware of, week 9 against the Bucks, he injured his ankle during the game. So we knew about that. We're monitoring that. He still came out and played against the Broncos, still won, still did fine. Now that the injury report has been published for Wednesday, he now has a hip injury added to that. And so a lot of people are like, wait, so there's two, and he still did practice in full, but It's
Yeah.
gotten a lot of people kind of like turning their heads. I think the expectation is still very much that he will play on Sunday, but it adds another little fold to this big game coming up, perhaps one of the biggest games of the weekend.
This is always a great matchup because the Bills are such a fun team to watch, and so are the Chiefs. I am always rooting for the underdog in most
Hmm.
cases. And this is one of those instances where myself, hopefully you as well, are hoping the Bills will win. But there's something about this 2024 Chiefs that
Hmm.
just cannot be beaten. And we've seen Patrick Mahomes really come through even when he is fully injured. Like, I forget if it was last season or the season before, he did leave the game for a few plays, but he was limping and he was like, no, I'm gonna play. And he freaking won that game. And he continued to
Insane.
play on that completely broken ankle. And then they won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So as much as I'm hearing these reports of the injuries for Mr. Pat, I don't think that this will be a hindrance to his game. Like maybe it will, but like as we all see, the last minute of any Chiefs game is pure magic for them and it always works in their favor. Of course, I know I said this. I want the Bills to win and it's going to be a great
Hmm.
matchup. Josh Allen is such a beast. He's playing some great football right now, maybe the best he's ever played. Um, but we can't help but just know what it is when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And it's always a win in the last minute of the game.
I know. We could come out here and say the unpopular opinion that we think the Bills are going to win, and we could have done that every single time we've reported on a Chiefs game and tried to go the path less taken. But I can't sit here and lie to my fumblers. I can't do it. I think the Chiefs are going to pull it out. I think again, the crazy Chiefs voodoo magic happening right now that they are able to win games in insane ways. That blocked field goal that had them beating the Broncos in the very last second. I was walking into SoFi Stadium for the Chargers game, and I was like, no, I need to watch the end of this game on my NFL app on my phone. I'm stopped in the parking lot, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to watch this. The 2024 Chiefs are about to get their first loss of the season. The Broncos just need to make a 35-yard field goal and they will win. Blocked. I was
No,
screaming in SoFi
no.
Stadium. I could not, I was like shaking. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is not, we've never seen this. Like
Yeah.
they are barely winning, but they are always winning. And it is a insane phenomenon to watch. I can give you some stats. I don't know if any of those even apply anymore, but this will be the eighth time that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are facing off against each other. They have an interesting dynamic where during regular season games, Josh Allen is 3-1 against Patrick Mahomes. So that historically points to Josh Allen being able to come out here and give Patrick Mahomes his first loss of the 2024 season. However, if you're looking at special times, the playoffs, or I think 2024 might fall under this like special bucket, Josh Allen is 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
Mm.
So I don't know what we need to do with that information, but they're pretty evenly matched in terms of wins and losses. But Patrick Mahomes is winning when it counts. And I unfortunately think we're just going to see the Chiefs go from 9-0 to 10-0 this weekend, and no one can stop them.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the biggest AFC rivalries of the season. But what about some other games in the AFC that we're looking forward to?
We have perhaps what many have coined the best rivalry in the NFL. This dates back almost 30 years. I'm talking about the AFC North. We have the Ravens versus the Steelers this weekend. And we are so excited for this game. Noelle is a resident of the AFC North as a Bengals fan. So you have special,
Fortunately.
just yeah, it's such a talented division. It's crazy how good everyone is. I mean, this season not really the Browns, but there's such great teams. So the Ravens are currently 7-3. Steelers are 7-2. They both have been killing it. Whoever wins this game will currently hold the first place number one seed in the AFC North. Obviously, that can change. We still have at least 7-8 weeks ahead for both of these teams, but it'll definitely be a huge game, especially just knowing the stakes are so high for that number one spot in the AFC North right now. The Ravens are favored to win when you look at the betting odds. I mean, they have just been so dominant. Lamar Jackson is on track to win another MVP with how well he's been playing at quarterback. But they have not gone up against a defense as good as the Pittsburgh defense. And I think this is going to be a really good testament to a very strong Ravens offense going up against this Pittsburgh defense. Which one is more powerful? They've both been winning games based on each of these strengths. And we see these two clash. Who is going to be the one that comes out on top? I know that the Ravens are favored to win, and I'm personally rooting for the Ravens because I like them more than the Steelers. But the Steelers have actually won 7 out of 8 of these last matchups, so they are historically favored to win. And when you look at their entire spread, the Steelers have won a majority of the games. I want to say it's like 35 compared to like 20 or 25 games that the Ravens have won. So it might be a Steelers upset when it comes to the game this weekend. What do you think as a fellow AFC North contender?
Man, I would say the same, although it kind of goes against what all of the stats say. And as you mentioned, in the last 7 of the 8 games that the Ravens and the Steelers have played each other, the Steelers have won every single one of those. If you take that a step further, when we look at all of the times that Lamar has played against the Steelers, he's 1-3 against the Steelers. So the Steelers have Lamar's number, they have the Ravens' number. And when we look at how both of these teams really match up against each other, and the reason why the AFC North has the image that it does, it's because of the Ravens and because of the Steelers. As much as I love my Bengals, like it's all about the physicality and the toughness because they both have such strong defenses. And I feel like for both of these teams, yes, the Ravens are really great on offense right now, but they have a really strong defense. And the Steelers, that's all they've been playing in the last few years. And shall I say for the past like 10 years is like how great that their defense is. We see guys like TJ Watt, who I believe has 7 sacks in the last 4 games that they played against the Ravens. So Lamar needs to watch out for that. And I just think it's going to be a matchup against the defenses for this game. And while the offenses are going to keep you in the offenses are going to keep you in the game, the defense is going to be what closes out for the game in this matchup. One stat that kind of like stood out to me was, of course, they have these really strong defenses, but when it comes to their rushing defense, the Ravens and the Steelers are top 4 in terms of touchdowns allowed to the rush game. So both teams have allowed just 7 touchdowns to the rushing game. So we know that both of these teams, they do love to rush, but they also have defenses that can put a block to that game. So what are they going to do differently to put some points on the board? And it's going to be about those wide receivers and how they can make some of those explosive plays. So it's going to be a great matchup. Unfortunately, the Bengals have already lost twice to the Ravens, and they have to play the Steelers 2 more times. Or actually, they haven't played them at all this year yet, but they have to play them 2 times for the rest of the season. And it's going to be scary. Even with Russell Wilson, you know, they're 7-2. Comes to show that not every single team needs to have, you know, the strong quarterback if you have a good defense. And that's exactly what the Steelers and the Ravens have.
So are you saying Russell Wilson is not a strong quarterback?
Not like Lamar. He was on the bench at the beginning of this season.
I just wanted to see if you're using some fighting words against the dangerous Wilson.
You know what? I'm loving seeing the comeback of Russell Wilson because I think we've seen him in his prime during the Seahawks. But dare I say, if he wins against the Ravens, we can see a revival, and we're here for it. But you know, they're gonna have to be firing on all cylinders in this game, and we're excited for the matchup.
Yeah, he is certainly no Lamar. I know you mentioned that Lamar has historically kind of struggled against the Steelers. And not only has he not had a winning record when it comes to beating this team, but he also has his lowest passer rating against the Steelers compared to any other team, which definitely feeds into this rivalry, but also just makes sense when you're talking about how good the Steelers defense is. And then it might make you think like, okay, maybe the Steelers don't really think that like Lamar Jackson's as good as everyone else thinks he is. But Steelers coach Mike Tomlin was asked about this matchup during the press conference on Sunday following their barely like last minute win against the Commanders. And one of the press guys was asking, like, you're playing a tough quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and you're going up against Lamar Jackson. Like, what are some similarities you see between these two quarterbacks? And Mike Tomlin, you gotta love Mike Tomlin in the media. This man is a wild, wild man. I just love watching him behind the mic. He's just like, you better be careful if you are trying to compare anybody to Lamar Jackson. He's like, that is Mr. Jackson. You cannot like put any disrespect on his name. Like, he was like, that is a legend, like multiple time MVP winner. So you can tell that he is very much has so much respect for Lamar Jackson, and he is taking this rivalry very seriously. And he knows that his team has to be as good as they've been all season to beat the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. I saw a interview that Lamar was doing. They're like, "What NFL team do you hate?" And he was like, "Any team that I'm playing." And he's like, "Off the field, it's all love, but I hate any team that like I want to win." And that's exactly what we see in him every single year. We see him progress, but we'll see exactly how that will all play in this game because this is going to be a rivalry that you guys don't want to miss.
You don't want to miss it. And what's interesting to me is like how big these two games are. Of you have the NFL's best rivalry and the battle for the AFC North against the Ravens and the Steelers. And then you have the Bills versus Chiefs, which are the two best teams in football right now going head to head. It's always an exciting game between the two of them. You might be thinking, oh, well, which one of those games is Sunday night primetime? Who gets the, best spot of the week? Well, that would be the Chargers versus the Bengals. And I don't know why they did this. I mean, I know that, Chargers versus Bengals are obviously both two good teams, very talented quarterbacks, both fighting for the wild card seed in the playoffs. But it's just so funny. Like, there is so much hype around those two games. And then also we have Commanders Eagles on Thursday, that battle for their division. And it's like, well, who's rounding out the weekend in prime time? It's our boys, Justin and Joe, going head to head.
You guys, Brooke and I were supposed to be going to this game together, but fortunately for Brooke, she will be going on a trip to Japan. So I'm going to be going, but I'm really sad that you're not going to be there to cheer on our boys because no matter who wins, like, that I love my Bengals and you love the Chargers, like it would have been so fun, but we'll have to make it the next time.
Next time they play each other, it would have been so fun. But I would have felt bad because I wouldn't be able to cheer for the Bengals with you, but obviously love the Chargers so much. It would have been a conflict of interest, probably good for the sake of the podcast and our friendship that we're watching the game separately and I'll be on my plane. But no, so excited for that. And it is a big deal when you are thinking about those, like, who's going to win, the like 6th, 7th, 8th seeds for the playoffs. And just like a little tidbit for our fumblers, if you guys are gearing up for the playoffs and you're kind of wondering what the difference is between being like a number 1 seed or number 2 seed, the number 1 seeds of each conference automatically advance to the next round in playoffs, don't have to play anybody. So that's looking like that's going to be the Chiefs and the Lions, and they're just moving on. Now, what the Chargers and the Bengals are fighting for is to be one of the teams that are 6 through 8, right? 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. The bottom 4 teams, and those are teams that are playing the winners of the other divisions. So you want to win your division. You want to be the number 1 seed. That's why the Ravens and the Steelers are fighting for it, because not only are you playing a worse team, but you're also getting a home game in the playoffs. So like if you're the 2nd seed team, you get to play the 7th seed team, or if you're 3rd seed, you get to play 6th. So you're playing a worse team. You get the home field advantage. But then if you're the Chargers, the Bengals, you're just trying to scrape in there and get in there at the end and just play one of the 3rd or 4th seeds and find your way into the playoffs. So this is when things start to get exciting because we are seeing how the records are shaping up. But I think they also just put them on Sunday Night Football because they're cute.
I guess so. Maybe they know that Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow are bringing the viewers. When we saw the timing of this game was originally supposed to be at 1 and they slotted this in, like they just snuck it in there maybe about a week or 2 ago, just really sneakily. And it's like, oh, okay, so I guess we're going to be going to a night game now.
Yeah.
which is fine. And like, love to see that our boys are, getting the attention that they deserve. But there's going to be a big day. It's going to be a big day for anybody who is a fan of any AFC team this weekend. So look out for those matchups. And I'll miss you at the game.
Oh, I'll miss you too, but I'm happy that you'll get to cheer for your Bengals in peace. I will be checking the score as soon as I land, or I'm going to try to stream it on United. So hopefully I'm able to watch. But yeah, very big AFC weekend. Very excited to see what happens. And it was funny just what you said about like they secretly like flex. They're not secretly, but like very like unassumingly flex this game into prime time. Like usually when we see like a little bit more of like the bigger matchups happening during the day, it's like, okay, well, they probably planned the schedule out a long time ago. And like, that's why we're not seeing the Chiefs and the Bills in prime time, but they could have done it. And they still chose to do Joe and Justin. So that just goes to show the influence that Girls Don't Fumble has on who the teams are that are the NFL media darlings. So I'll take credit for that for us.
Hit up our guy, Roger Goodell. Hey, let's move this game over a little bit. He said, say less.
Hey, Roger. He said, I got you. I got your boys on prime time. Well, we're so excited. Can't wait to see how all these games turn out. I am going to try to watch a few games while I'm in Japan. We were looking up the like times. I think I'll be able to watch any of like the 5 o'clock games. It's like 10:30 in the morning in Japan the next day. So Kai and I will probably be at sports bars watching like whoever's playing on Thursday or Sunday night.
I'm sure you can find some.
Yeah, we'll see how big the American football influence is in Japan. Probably going to watch on my phone. We'll see. All right, Fumblers. We love you so much. We will be back. Maybe not next week if I'm in Japan. Maybe we'll do a little international episode. Stay tuned on the socials to see what you can expect. But we love you guys and have an amazing weekend.
Yay. See you guys.
Bye.